Hi and a very good evening. Welcome to the Dare Conversation series powered by the Grey Matter. Our guest today is Sai Sabnis. She graduated from ILS Law College, Pune and is a lawyer turned natural chef. So let's invite Sai to join us on this chat. I hope the internet works this time.
Let's hope this is better. Round two. Let's go.
Okay, so the first question is, why did you choose to study law and how was your college experience like?
So, okay, law happened to me more out of, I think, at that time. See, I always say this, we're too young at that age. I was 17 at the time, to pick a professional degree to take you through life, you know. But at that point, I think because of my personality type, which was something that somebody that really enjoyed arguments and logical, discussions, as I like to call it. So yeah, so I think I got nudged because of these aspects into law because it just seemed like a degree which was like a universal gateway that you could pursue various things, things that were of interest to me at that time. Yeah, so it felt like you were still leaving things open while still getting into the system and doing something proper and respectable.
And how was ILS for you?
ILS was a great experience for me, honestly. I mean, I was a little bit disappointed not to be leaving Pune because my family was in Pune at the time. And, it so happened that I found myself in ILS. And so that meant continuing in Pune for college life, which is when you can like look forward to going to another city and all. So yeah, and also I lived quite a distance from ILS, so which meant, you go to that side of the world. And then that's another life over there. And it was a great because ILS, I don't know if you know the campus. It's a beautiful campus. It's a huge campus. We have a hill behind, old buildings, and also that area I think is pretty vibrant in terms of like there's a lot of other colleges there. My best friends were in colleges nearby and all. So in that sense, it was a nice sort of environment to find yourself in. And ILS as a college gave you a lot of opportunities of co-curricular nature, I felt, which sort of were my interest because attending classes was a little bit heavy for me in the beginning. And although I enjoyed the library and all thoroughly, ILS has a great library. So I spent a lot of time there and that was really fun. And but there's a lot of other stuff, like there's very serious intercollegiate dramatics. And then, also actually it gave me time to do things like, study languages on the side or that sort of stuff. So I think, yeah, I made the most of my college life in the way I could, and ILS sort of gave me that space to be able to do it for the most part.
Clearly, you had a gala time.
Yeah. I mean, it was 5 years. You got to make it great. And also, it's lovely people. They are like from all over India. It's a college that attracted a lot of people from everywhere, no? So in that sense, in terms of exchange and exposure and people, seniors, it was a really good time. Yeah. I didn't spend all of it studying. Yeah.
So from Pune, a shift happened to all the way Delhi after your graduation, where you worked in the chambers practice and then, as an in-house counsel in a sports and fashion company. Two very diverse ecosystems.
Yeah.
Tell us what have been your key skills and learnings from those two roles.
Well, I think the chamber practice happened because it just seemed very logical that after you finish 5 years of law, to me it seemed at that point that you do something that is the most direct, I think, the direct next step. as a lawyer, you think of somebody who is, part of that, the court systems and things like that. And of course, there's a fascination for it. When I went to New Delhi and, to see the Supreme Court and all, like, it was, you feel that pride going to work, or, you enter those buildings and all this. There's something very grand and great about that. So in terms of the experience that I gained from that, I think that was very, enriching. To actually pursue chamber practice, to be briefing counsel that you look up to, that you see them like celebrities, no, in the corridors and performing there and stuff like that. So it gave me a very deep insight into the legal field in its purest form, I'm going to call it. And this is only true for myself, how I look at things. So yes, it gave me that insight into it, and it's good because I think I would have always wondered about it had I not, and I was close to maybe not pursuing it, or not pursuing it immediately at least. So I'm very glad and grateful that it worked out in the way that I spent 3 years doing that and seeing it up close like that. And getting that bit out of my system, or just understanding why maybe it's not the best place for me. Maybe more like that, and then that was sort of what took me to the next step, which was this in-house position with an agency that handled a lot of sports and fashion properties. And yes, completely different end of the spectrum kind of an experience, because this was a lot more like, it was socializing, and it was glitzy, and it was, it was fun, and it was, it wasn't how chamber practice can be, which is like very much in your own little bubble, and you're spending a lot of hours and you're getting paid nothing, and, those kind of this thing. So it was a different life in that sense. But again, what I think that gave me was this other aspect of law, where I saw that I could practice and have fun, or basically have that sort of an exposure as well in life. But at the same time, I think with each of these steps, it's like you learn a little more about yourself, and you start forming a more definite path for yourself, or you start seeing it at least, and making choices accordingly. And I feel like that is sort of what happened even with this other place. My learning was that, yes, this is awesome, but what I need personally for my personal fulfillment, and, going forward for myself. I think those were things that I learned.
That's a pretty relevant point that you've made here, that, whatever job profession you go into, it's one aspect to it is also that you get to learn a lot about yourself, what works, what doesn't work, and how long can you do something. It's only dependent on how much you enjoy doing it. So no, and I also read somewhere, which I think makes so much sense. No, there's even like dead ends or experiences which didn't lead conventionally to what you would imagine or wanted to lead to. They're still like learning about what you don't want is still another step closer to learning what you want. So it's great. And and you have more to talk about. We're in conversation right now, thanks to it. Brilliant. So tell us, when did your love for cooking turn into an obsession? And how did you develop this interest for nutrition and, healthy eating?
So I think eating has been an integral part of my family, and I think a lot of us can say that about our families. I mean, the more I observe, I see it everywhere. We are obsessed with eating, naturally. And cooking was, I guess, also part of it. I'm an older amongst two, and I really enjoyed cooking for my sister, and just little things, at home, that kind of stuff and all. We were a little bit actually discouraged from the kitchen, because my mom was the kind who encouraged us to be like, independent career women, and that's where she wanted to see us go. And in her way, she thought that encouraging domestic pursuits or interests might hamper those aspirations. So in some way, I mean, I'm also grateful for it, because there was never any pressure. Like, we weren't the kind of house where I had to make tea when guests came home, for example, In fact, yeah. But I think for me, cooking was something that I enjoyed on the side as a creative process, more like that, And after college, when I had my own home, that was the first time I had my own home and my own kitchen. But of course, when I was litigating, life was too busy to do that, to even think about that, I think. So it wasn't something that was around in my frame of mind or at all. It was after I started to have a little more time, and with this shift that I already made into this in-house counsel position, that I started to enjoy a little bit dabbling and a little bit cooking for myself or sorting myself out. Sometimes you also read about how you want to be eating well, and those are at a different level when you are, I think, busy with a career that doesn't involve cooking. So yeah, you dabble a little bit, but I think what happened is towards the close of this time that I spent with this as an in-house counsel, I was thinking a lot about the next step, and it was never never in the context of thinking of switching careers or anything. That wasn't even remotely a thought, actually. I think at that time I was just in an exploratory frame of mind, let's just say that. And cooking, I realized, of course, was giving me a lot of that meditative time. I was spending time in the kitchen doing this. Also around that time, I came across this book, which is which talked about Ayurvedic concepts and food from the angle of Ayurveda and Ayurvedic eating. And for me, it was fascinating. I mean, not that we don't know these concepts or they're foreign to us, but it's something maybe that we don't spend we haven't spent too much time with or too much attention on. And just reading this book, and also the book came through me through a woman who had struggled with cancer very seriously, actually, and she pretty much like extracted herself from the jaws of death. Having made a shift with her food, and also like meditative practices and things like that. So all of this thing about food and energy and being and quality of life and all of these things, concepts came together, I think, around in a very powerful time. They came together. So I feel like as an obsession, it was probably gathering momentum, this, and it was probably because of that one day a friend came home, and I'd been in the kitchen some 8-9 hours, and he was like, maybe you should be thinking about this as your next step. And I'm like, wow, like literally until that moment I had not thought about that even being, I mean, yeah, we don't think of these as possibilities. You do a 5-year course, you spent another 5 years in the profession, you think basically, what can I do next with the same degree? So I think that was the first, like, whoa, can it be kind of a moment. And I started to toy with it more seriously. Also like enrolling to work part-time with a restaurant while I was still working, took a cut with hours and salary and all. And just try to discover how much I love it, because we can love something to do it for our own joy. It's very different to do it in a professional context and under duress in on many days or in those contests. So yeah, so I think that was sort of the journey, and yeah.
Very interesting, very interesting. And it's amazing how inspiration comes in the most unexpected ways. Like, that person, that moment, giving that comment, and kind of turns around the whole world.
Yeah.
So tell us, Sai, what is the meaning of a natural chef? Like, how is it different from any other?
From a chef. So a natural chef is basically somebody that is trained to see food as not just something of delicious value. Of course, being a chef, you are dealing with that. But you are also looking at it as a source of nutrition. You're looking at it as a source of something that sustains you. So you're definitely looking at a more holistic picture when you're looking at food, because what the ingredients are going to matter. How they are raised, that's going to matter. How they are acquired, the ethics of the industry, that's going to matter. Because again, if you're in a holistic system, you cannot really nurture yourself at the cost of somebody or something else. So these are sort of aspects that a natural chef naturally takes into account while being a chef. So you'll deal with whole foods, the kind of ingredients, the quality of ingredients. You'll also deal with, now there are sort of also buzzwords about like local and seasonal, and which is amazing. I'm very glad that these are becoming louder conversations, because there's good reason why traditional societies fared so well in certain aspects, remaining close to these certain principles, and why now in certain contexts and lifestyles we find there are certain fallouts of how much we've moved away from those systems and those kind of that sort of thought, even just basically the separation of food and nourishment, basically sustenance. We think of them as very different things. Medicine has become a totally different thing from food, which traditionally and in a more sustainable system, the both are married very well, and that's how you actually get the most out of it.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it. You get the most out of your food. It's no more just taste. Yeah.
Okay. And how did you decide that Natural Gourmet Institute, New York, is where you're going to go get trained?
Yeah, so that was again like all these things, they're so like serendipitous. I was exploring of places. I would have, at that time, I wasn't looking to go abroad. Natural Gourmet Institute is in New York, as you know. I wasn't looking to go abroad, and least of all that far. I actually was this bit that I told you that I was working at a restaurant just to figure out, was at a Japanese restaurant. And it's very much, I'm fascinated by the Japanese culture and ethos and food also. So for me, I would have really liked to go there to study, if anything, or study culinary arts to do, because that combines the kind of philosophy that I got interested in. Unfortunately, though, at the time I was researching, or maybe it didn't show up to me or whatever, there weren't too many places in the world that were offering culinary courses where you could be a chef. Are you around?
Yes, I'm there. I'm right here.
There you are. Yeah. So there weren't too many. So I wanted to study this, but I also wanted to study. I didn't want to do a conventional culinary course, because by then I had done enough research to know that more was out there. You could study to be a chef, but with more study angles to it. Not just the techniques of cooking. And there weren't too many schools of that nature. So I basically, it was by elimination, and also actually this friend who had suggested had lived in New York for a really long time. And he kept telling me, you're going to love New York, you must go. And I actually, at that point, I was like, I don't want to. The US was on one of the don't want to go lists, just completely by hearsay. But he's like, no, New York City, you're going to love it. You must give it a go and all of that. And this course had the perfect kind of like, when I read the syllabus, it was something that really excited me. I wanted to study this course. So I was fortunate enough that it actually all worked out really well. And then that's how I made it there. Yeah. That's how it happened.
And how was that experience getting trained? Like, can you tell us an anecdote or something which you thoroughly enjoyed or were in awe stuck with?
Awestruck, I think I was many times. Because I mean, not through culinary school. Culinary school was an amazing experience for me because it was also so. Think about this, like similar-minded people who have this in mind, like that's how they wanted to study culinary arts, coming from all over the world. Because, like I said, they also might have hit a wall in finding places to study the kind of stuff they wanted to study. So we actually had like people from all the continents and like all parts of the world, and it was a small class, and it was just it was a really super fascinating experience because there was just so much cultural exchange in the context of food and in the context of well-being and in the context of traditional knowledge, because all of us of course also came with that bend of mind. So it was something that we were interested, what our grandmothers said, what our mothers might have mentioned, that sort of stuff. So it was a great, and then you're in New York City, with that as your interest. Wow, because there are markets to go to, there are amazing restaurants. I also, because it's a school that was, known also because I think of its niche and all of that. I ended up doing a lot of stages in really cool restaurants in New York, which was amazing. Like even that for me, like it's like behind the scenes, like if you're into some sort of performance arts or something, and you get like a free pass behind the scenes to all the best events, you'll feel like, wow, this is the life. So it was really nice, and actually, I was also fortunate with the kind of internship I landed and then trained over there, which happened to be a Michelin star that was dealing with fine dining, focused on nutrition, focused on green practices, but like really impeccable, beautiful food. And the chefs over there, so inspiring. And yeah, I think there were a lot of moments of awe. I mean, not to say it wasn't difficult. It was very difficult and it was very overwhelming sometimes. And sometimes you did wonder, what the hell am I doing here? But yeah, more of the other.
I think what was the most fun for me was when I asked you the question and your face just lit up. Like clearly, like a lot of memories came back. So fantastic. Okay, so
Yeah.
after that training, you worked in New York, you worked in Andamans and also in Goa. Tell us which has been your most favorite place and why.
That's such a tough question because, I mean, have you seen any of these three places? They're awesome. And they were all part of different times of my life. They were also all, they showed me different aspects about myself. They also each added different elements to the style that currently I hold, and that'll keep happening. But I think I was always very clear, actually, which was another thing, with law and all. I didn't want to live in cities. That's not the kind of person. I don't like noise and traffic and traffic signals, and like that's not my style. And actually, I was just thinking the other day, the reason I think I love New York so much is because you can choose to have a life. Like I had such a pedestrian-y life, I walked everywhere. And in that sense, life just seems so large and free, the kind of mobility you have, I think it makes a huge difference on your, so life just seems larger and more wondrous, And of course, I told you the kind of work I was doing there was also very inspiring. So yes, New York was a great experience. That is one of my, like, I always look at, and it's so far away. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. So definitely it's something I'm like looking longingly, and yeah. Andamans was again a magical experience because of just the kind of place it is, the kind of time I found myself there. And the kind of experience I had there as well, because there's a lot of limitations. See, in a place like New York, the world is your oyster, right? Like in this restaurant, we were exposed to some amazing stuff. But in the Andamans, I came here with the ethos, which is that you work with what is around you. You do not stress systems in nature and in the environment and around you to procure things, because then that's not a true reflection of the kind of talent, or at least the kind of skill you have acquired trying to be a natural chef, So animals, you are cut off. You're completely on these islands in the middle of the ocean, and you have access to very little. And you are trying to make the most, and you're trying to elevate everything that you have access to. You're finding local things fascinating and using those increasingly. You're foraging for things. There we had the privilege of cleaner seas, so you could go to like places which had no footfall, and you could go and gather seaweed and things like that. So there were opportunities like these, like I used over there. You would look for things like you went out excursion in the forest or something. You'd invariably find some beautiful maybe shell pieces or leaves or something like that, and I use those in my painting. And so it was really stimulating and really fun in that way in the Andamans. Again, it's a beautiful place. I could cycle around everywhere, which for me is a dream. Like I wish I could have that in Goa. It would be perfect. Then Goa. Goa is like an amazing marriage between the world. You have, an exposure to everything and everybody. It's on the world map. Village at heart. It's still very small and local and community and that. So again, there is an audience that understands, that has experienced everything that maybe I'm trying to communicate over here. But they also appreciate the kind of limitations I might be working with in Goa. So in that sense, that is the advantage of Goa. And again, like I have a lot of nature here, I have a lot of animals, a community of amazing people. So I think I'm drawn to such places, and inshallah, I will continue to be. So they're all favorite. I cannot pick
All
one.
favorite. Brilliant. Okay, so tell us, do you have any tips for our viewers on what easy tips on healthy cooking habits? Like how can one inculcate any tips that you may have, which are very easy, which are very good, basically.
Okay, one thing that I would really encourage, and this is something actually I want to start doing more of, is encouraging people to just look at when we buy something, just to even look at the ingredient list. I think that simple thing can be such a powerful exercise over time, because we are all, of course, we all want to make better choices. And of course, some of us have more time to research, or try to understand what those better choices are. And some people don't have, the mind frame for all of this. But I feel like each time we grab something, if we just try to go a little bit deeper with interest into what it is that we are consuming, I think that already starts us on a healthier journey of being aware of what we are putting into our systems, what we are choosing to. We can totally choose to. And sometimes it'll take us longer, sometimes it'll take us shorter. It's all a personal journey. But it starts with awareness. So I'm always, I think my emphasis lies more in like, but that, if you think of that, that is something that you could put more effort into by just grabbing whatever it is you're buying, reading the ingredient list, that kind of stuff. That itself, I think, will take you into, because healthier eating is not such a complicated thing, and it's not such a difficult thing, and it's also not such a onerous thing. It does not mean that the pleasures of your life will appear. I think. Okay, I think there.
Yeah.
Are you there? Okay, the video is a little bit, I think, problematic. Yeah, so I just feel like the reason I mentioned read these things is because maybe naturally you will start to make more pure choices. And those pure choices are the healthier ones. And that's the thing, like you might start to enjoy things that haven't been forced too much in certain ways to bring it to your, whether it is processing for form, is processing for taste. Have it shows there's a camera issue, but you can hear me, right?
It could be my end here.
No problem. Like, I just don't want to keep talking at you.
But I can hear you loud
Yeah,
and
that's
clear.
good. So yeah, beautiful, small is beautiful, those kind of things. A little bit thought just goes a long way. And like, that's what, in a world of just too much knowledge and information out there, I don't want to add by saying do this and don't do that. It's really just about empowering yourself with information. For sure, people will, because it's very easy to just eat better. It's very easy. It's really not that difficult. And people like me now increasingly are trying to give that choice, where you will get like, I also do desserts which are healthy, whole food focused, and all of that. So people who are aware and who want to. So like, I love chocolate cake. I want to eat dessert every day if I can. And I can. That's the thing. I can, because of what goes into my dessert. So that's just an example, and these are the people who are seeking people like me out because, yeah, they don't have the time for it, but they've started to be interested and they've started to have the knowledge. So it all just starts with that, I think. Yeah. And then people make their own choices.
Also, it's very pertinent, like you said. I think awareness is half the job done. Because the moment it goes into your mind, you'll keep remembering that, okay, this is the ingredient which was there in the product. So probably the second time you may not even buy it. Or you may just delay the, instant gratification of purchase it.
Correct. And it's actually, if you like take a step back, it's sometimes if you think about it, you are paying hard-earned money to eat shit that comes in plastic wrapping that is totally beeping the world. And you are causing problems in the long run, maybe having to buy antacids and whatnots as a result. My point is, the whole it starts to, when you look at it like that. And with this, I will say, with this, you combine it with exposing your taste buds to the best of things, There's some really, like, delicious is all around us. We don't have to resort to things that have to be bad for us, for them to be delicious. This is something that has been, I think, a long-term marketing sort of industrialization of food messaging thing that, but yeah, with knowledge and awareness, I think we can break free from it. Yeah.
That's an excellent point, and thank you so much for bringing it forward. You did mention chocolate cake, but is that what your guilty food pleasure is?
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't want to, I don't call it guilty because I do it like with full style. I'm sourcing the best chocolate. I'm sourcing all, I mean, the ingredients are the best. I'm also a zero waste chef. So, I mean, which is sort of why also I've become a Puritan in what I do, because I want to cater to my own needs, and my needs are very Puritan now. And I don't want to feel guilty about these things. I want to be loud and proud about the things I love and enjoy them. And also, while I'm enjoying them, I also realize the body's own wisdom. It knows now. It understands what it wants, when it wants, and things like that. And it's a natural thing. It's not something I have to fight with myself for. So that's a great reward. It's, for me, it's very gratifying. That is very gratifying. And yeah, so in that sense, I will say guilty pleasure, though, for me, one of the things is also, though, animal products. I wish in India, I hope in India we start to demand, and they're out there that will provide legitimately ethical animal products. Because I don't believe that a certain kind of diet is the way to be, or the way forward for the planet. But I think a certain kind of being, a certain kind of interacting with our environment, including our food systems, is key to that. And so for me, even thinking about certain things that I would like to consume make me feel a bit guilty, and I don't consume them for the most part. And but so those kind of things, I think, because when you've grown up with certain kinds of foods, maybe also making such a dramatic change is not even sustainable for yourself in the long run. Maybe it is for some people, but I feel like this is my the guilt association with my this thing, because in India I find some of the things it's a little bit difficult to find a mid ground with. Yeah.
Absolutely. And tell us, has your lawyer skills or lawyer experience come handy in any way in your current profession?
Well, of course, in terms of hard skills, won't be so much, but but I think soft skills. I feel like maybe there's a certain kind of commitment I feel to what I do. There's a certain amount of earnestness that I bring to my craft that probably comes from the fact that I have been on the other side in terms of work wise also. Yes, where I've experienced a career which gave me all the rewards, which there are certain that right now in my position, in effect, I've let go of, I have relinquished to gain some other things, but they're relinquishments all the same. So yeah, so I feel like that experience sort of, at least I'm not left wondering or fantasizing. They've been worked through and they've been dealt with. I feel like another invaluable thing that I find I have from that experience is, I think, my sensitivity and sort of what do you say, empathy to people who lead busy lives, or to people who are consumed with work, because so am I. I'm consumed with my work. It just so happens that it feeds these things that I speak about. But that is not, unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody. So I sort of understand the challenges that people who might want to make better choices but don't even know what those choices are, or maybe they're not even thinking of those questions because they don't have the mind frame for it. So I think yeah, that sort of sensitivity is something that is a good addition to what I do, I think. Yeah.
I think that was very, very relatable, and thank you for sharing that. My last question before we close this live is, do you have any piece of advice for lawyers and law students who may be unsure about practicing law?
Well, honestly, advice, yeah, for sure. I mean, not advice. I'm going to say what I thought for myself, which was like the compelling argument that made me make the shift, which was that we believe that when we earn a prestigious degree like this, or have had some work experience in this field, that we're committed to this for life, or this is our path, and we only look in this same direction. And I think what was a shift in what caused a shift in my thinking was that all of this hard work that I have done and all these accomplishments that I have spent my time and energy to gather, do I want these to be something that set me free? Or do I want these to be, something that holds me back from something that I feel like is more me? Like my heart is falling out, or it is a chance I want to take. And of course, you have to go about it in a very realistic way, because chances are there's a good chance that you want to fall back on this, that you'll go have that experience, realize it was not for you, and come back. But anyway, it's great because you got it out of your system and you've tried it out. And you'll have to start maybe a rung lower or several rungs lower, coming back to your industry, which was something that I thought about. These were questions that I actually spent very focused time on thinking and pondering for myself to answer before making that shift, because you have to be very real with yourself when you make a shift like that. So yeah, if you think you can do that, and I would encourage always, when you have a desire for something, so it's nice to in a level-headed way, if you can experience it. I mean, we live once. Let's do all that we can and be everything that we can.
I think that was a really powerful advice, and clearly you've lived it, experienced it, and hence it's coming
striving
out.
For it. Let's say striving for it.
Striving for it. Fantastic. And that brings us to the end of our session, Sai. Thank you so much.
Super.
This was an excellent conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed
Awesome,
and learned so much
pleasure.
about nutrition. And I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I had a blast. It's nice also. It's really nice to look at these different angles again.
Fantastic. And thank you for taking out the time on a Friday evening, and have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, you too, everyone, all of you. Bye.